not all steel saves lives. In the deadliest conflict in human history, the helmet on a soldier's head was often the only thing between them and lethal fragmentation. But some of these designs were fundamentally flawed from the factory floor. We are ranking every major combat helmet of World War II, from outdated death traps to metallurgical masterpieces. Lower tier. Let's begin with the French Adrien M11915, forged from extremely thin mild steel. It was originally designed to stop low-velocity shrapnel. Unfortunately, this material dented far too easily in high-intensity combat. Its multi-piece construction meant structural weak points at every single seam. The prominent top crest, intended to deflect overhead bursts, often acted as a dangerous shot trap instead. It was woefully obsolete the moment Blitzkrieg began. Next is the American M1917. Copied directly from the British, this wide-brimmed design only protected the soldier from top-down airbursts. It offered zero lateral defense against side or rear impacts from flying debris. Its shallow center of gravity caused it to rock forward violently. This constant shifting often blinded the wearer during rapid infantry advances. By 1939, its geometry was fundamentally unsuited for mobile warfare. Moving on, we have the British Brodie Mark I. This shallow bowl shared the exact same fatal flaws as the American copy. Stamped from Hadfield steel, it was exceptionally hard but offered terrible coverage. This left soldiers highly vulnerable during the fluid, mechanized battles of World War II. The wide rim frequently caught the blast wave of nearby artillery. This violently snapped the wearer's neck back, causing severe blunt force trauma. Continuing the lower tier is the US M197A1, also known as the Kelly helmet. It retained the exact same Reek saucer-like geometry of its predecessor. The only significant upgrade was a slightly improved leather and canvas suspension liner. This modification provided marginally better shock absorption for the soldier. However, the external ballistic profile remained entirely unchanged. Troops were still left with completely exposed ears, necks, and temporal regions. Finishing our lowest tier is the French Adrien M1926. This iteration finally introduced a single-piece stamped bowl. This crucial change eliminated the dangerously weak seams of the 1915 model. Stronger manganese steel was utilized to slightly improve ballistic deflection. Despite these metallurgical upgrades, the outdated top crest remained structurally weak. It still completely lacked the necessary lateral depth required for modern infantry survival. Early interwar designs, moderate modernization. Entering the early interwar designs, we first look at the Belgian M31. The Belgians pushed for a deeper brim to provide better neck and side protection. It was a step in the right direction geometrically. This offered vastly superior coverage compared to the aging Adrien model. Unfortunately, the domestic metallurgy was still relatively crude at the time. The steel alloy lacked the proper heat treatment to reliably stop high-velocity fragmentation. Next up is the Dutch M34. This uniquely oval-shaped helmet was immediately recognizable by its distinct slotted comb on top. While it provided decent top protection, the severe undercut left the lower neck dangerously exposed. The steep angle of the skirt did very little to deflect low-treachery shrapnel. Furthermore, the ventilation slots compromised the overall structural strength of the dome. Ultimately, its strange geometry ruined its ballistic integrity. Following that, we have the Polish WZ.31. Coated in an innovative anti-glare, textured salamander paint, it excelled at camouflage. The steel composition was highly respectable for the era. It featured a very resilient nickel-chrome molybdenum alloy construction. However, the shell was simply not as deep as contemporary German or Soviet designs. This left a critical gap in lower cranial protection during prone combat. Continuing, let's examine the Greek M34s39. Manufactured heavily in Italy, this helmet featured a slightly flared rim for better rain runoff and deflection. The overall profile was an interesting visual compromise between the Italian and British designs. Unfortunately, low alloy testing and inconsistent heat treatment plagued its entire production run. The resulting steel was often far too brittle to withstand direct combat stress. This led to catastrophic failures under direct artillery fire. Rounding out this tier is the Japanese Type 90. It boasted a modernized, dome-like shape for excellent initial deflection. Sadly, its actual material strength was severely lacking on the battlefield. Constructed from brittle 1mm chrome molybdenum steel, it notoriously failed against standard shrapnel. The inferior heat-treating process meant the metal would crack and shatter rather than deform. It was a highly modern geometry, completely ruined by poor metallurgy. Mid-tier, modernized 1930s infantry helmets. Starting the mid-tier of modernized 1930s designs is the Czechoslovak WW2. This design was highly compact and lightweight. These traits made it remarkably comfortable for infantry during long marches. However, the internal suspension system caused the steel shell to sit unusually high on the wearer's head. This significantly reduced the actual surface area of protection around the ears and neck. It was a well-made helmet that simply didn't cover enough mass. Next in this tier is the Bulgarian M36. Heavily influenced by German engineering, it shared a highly effective profile with the Stahlhelm. To save on weight and streamline production costs, the Bulgarians utilized notably thinner steel. This resulted in a comfortable, well-balanced piece of gear with excellent visual coverage, but it sacrificed raw stopping power against direct, high-velocity impacts. It prioritized ergonomic comfort over absolute ballistic survivability. Moving forward, we evaluate the British Mark II. This iteration introduced a much-needed, modernized internal liner system. The new suspension kept the helmet securely fastened during rapid movement. The steel alloy was also slightly hardened to improve general fragmentation resistance. Yet, the British stubbornly retained the shallow World War I saucer profile. It remained fundamentally deficient in lateral and rear ballistic protection. Next, let's look at the Hungarian M38. This was a highly refined clone of the German Stahlhelm. It offered exceptional overall coverage for the frontline soldier. The key structural difference was the chin strap being riveted directly to the steel shell. This created minor but noticeable ballistic weak points where the rivets penetrated the dome. Despite this flaw, the flared skirt provided superb deflection for the neck and ears. Finishing the mid-tier is the Italian M33. This helmet achieved a perfectly balanced depth for the individual soldier. It completely avoided the excessive, fatiguing weight of the heavier German designs. Its steep, continuous slope offered exceptional lateral protection. This shape deflected incoming rounds and debris highly effectively. The three-point ventilation rivets also doubled as incredibly secure mounts for the leather liner. High tier. Fully modern World War II designs. Entering the high tier of fully modern World War II designs, we start with the British Mark III Turtle. Finally abandoning the trench warfare saucer, the British drastically lowered the helmet's center of gravity. This vital change completely eliminated the dangerous rocking issue. It also provided incredibly deep and effective lateral protection. The extended front beak and sloping sides excelled at deflecting shrapnel from artillery tree bursts. It was a massive, desperately needed leap forward in British survivability. Next up is the legendary Soviet SSH-40. Featuring an aggressive, continuous sloped dome, its geometry was optimized strictly for maximum ballistic deflection. The interior utilized a brilliant six-pad liner system that could be easily adjusted in the field. This allowed Soviet infantrymen to comfortably wear thick winter hats underneath during freezing campaigns. Stamped from highly resilient steel, it could absorb tremendous punishment. It was a brutalist masterpiece of industrial mass production. Taking the runner-up spot is the German Stahlhelm family, covering the M35, M40, and M42. This iconic silhouette offered the absolute deepest side, rear, and neck coverage of any major power. The steep, flared skirt was an engineering marvel that drastically reduced lower cranial casualties. Throughout the war, the stamping process was simplified to speed up production. However, this never severely compromised the brilliant core geometry of the shell. It proudly remains the structural baseline for modern combat helmets today. Finally, at number 1, we have the American M1 helmet. This was a revolutionary two-piece design featuring a hardened manganese steel outer shell. Inside sat a remarkably lightweight, completely separate fiberglass liner. This dual-layer system provided supreme impact absorption on the battlefield. It also allowed the liner to be worn independently in non-combat zones for comfort. The deep, unified bowl offered outstanding all-around protection and was easily mass-producible. And that concludes our definitive ranking of every major World War II combat helmet. The Second World War forced a brutal, rapid evolution in infantry survivability. We saw metallurgical engineering progress from the fatal flaws of the French Adrian to the revolutionary modularity of the American M1. But the historical debate certainly does not end here. Do you agree that the logistical brilliance of the American M1 earns at the top spot, or do the German and Soviet designs reign supreme? Drop your expert analysis in the comments below because I read every single one of them. If you demand strictly accurate, deep dive military history content, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next battlefield.